So guys, as you can tell, it's been a year, and that's what this video is about. I didn't really want to have too much to say for this video, but it probably will go a long time, just because there's a lot to talk about, I guess. But yeah, this is a 1 year review for the channel. I thought I would do this before putting out other content, just because, took a little bit of a break to start making more videos, because after a week, I almost burned out completely on that, just because of things going on, but got it done. So you guys got 7 videos. I tried to do them for best quality. Some of them had to come flying in from the top of my head almost, but for the other ones, I was able to structure them really well. So I tried my best, but I just wanted to let you guys know that because after a year of doing this, I can definitely say it's a lot harder than people will give it credit for. I think a lot of times when people do their channels or their content creation journey, it's more or less them assuming that like they'll catch was it like the white fire, if you get what I mean? Like they'll be the one that burns up and they'll take off. Or some people say, well, I just did it for fun. And the people who do it for fun, I completely agree, because that's kind of how I went about it at first. But I do see where when you're doing it for fun and you start building, you start realizing, wow, I can step it up, I can make a bit more. And that's kind of where I think this came from. So, I'm just saying, for those out there that are trying or thinking, well, I don't know if I want to make this a living, you don't have to, but make sure the thing that you love doing is still what you love doing. So that's kind of the key thing I learned from this, is that I didn't want to end up hating this because I did it so much, and I don't think I did. I think the only problem I had is I wanted to make sure I got something out to you guys. So I think for creators where they're like, oh, well, I just feel pressured to get stuff out, I can understand that now. I completely understand where that's coming from. I do believe that after doing this for this amount of time I've done, I can see where that comes in, due to the fact that it's not like when you're working for someone, you have a deadline imposed on you. This is more so you have to impose your deadlines on yourself. And if you have work, family stuff, whatever is going on with life, it's not going to allow you to just say, hey, I need to put this off until I get the next, video done. And it's like, no, you just got to keep going. So I kind of put that out for you guys, because after this year, I learned this hasn't been like too overbearing on me. The only time it ever felt overbearing is when I put it on myself. So that's one thing I can definitely say, that if you're doing this for the first time and you're wondering, where the pressure's coming from, it'll almost 100% be coming from you at first, no matter what. Like, luckily, so far, the people that are subbed up to the channel, those who aren't subbed up are watching this, people who watch my channel just to see the videos, I appreciate it regardless. The point is, if you care enough to see, it means a lot. And what I'm trying to get out with this point is, those people who want to see stuff and keep saying, oh, well, they, if they say they want to see the next video, or they can't wait to see more, that's a great thing. That's a good thing. That's motivation. That's not people saying, I demand that you make another video. It's more of, I can't wait to see what you put out next. And having that has really helped out in making stuff, and that the content can be like, well, I need to either step it up, or I need to figure out maybe what I want to do next, right? And I do say that to tell people I do appreciate it when, they say stuff like that. But also for those who are probably are newer to this, that's kind of the way you need to take it, if you're wondering why. Because if you start pushing more so that you're like, oh, well, they're imposing on me, they're not really imposing on you. I think to impose on you would be like whoever would be demanding videos constantly or something. I don't see that from my community so far. I see that sometimes when some content creators will say that, but I don't think that they're coming from a bad space towards their community. It's more of, they feel that pressure, and I now know what that feels like, where you're just like, well, I want to make sure I get the next thing down, and sometimes you try to rush it out, and then it doesn't meet the expectations that you thought. I've had some videos like that where I thought maybe they would be better, like bangers, right? They would do a lot better, and they end up doing kind of okay. That could be for like a myriad of reasons, but a lot of times that's like one of the bigger problems like I had, is that I'll put something out, I'll feel bad because I did put work in it, but it doesn't do as well. But sometimes the things you put out, some people just don't want to see it at the time, and to me that just shows me, well, it was the wrong time. So, you know, like some of my the What Happened To series, some of the videos I thought would do a lot better than they did, but they didn't. And I don't blame people for not watching them. I just think, dang, probably the wrong time. So I learned that as well. You know, with YouTube, it's really an interesting game, and then all these different like platforms. It's a different type of situation where yes, you could put it out and maybe the algorithm will carry you. Maybe someone will randomly click on your video, share it to people. You know, they'll follow through with what you ask in the videos. But, you know, that's not always a guarantee. So if we want to live up to the situations where we don't have to just rely on that, you have to also prepare yourself for when that happens. So, you know, I put that out there because there's a few times where I'm like, dang, I really wish this video did better. But, you know, it didn't. And, you know, it's not the end of the world. After doing this for the year, I realized, well, something didn't work, and it's like, okay, move on to the next thing, or how can I make the next one better? You know, that's like kind of the key, because at least in my opinion, after doing this, one thing that I really enjoy is knowing that people that watch the video actually enjoy it. Because for a while there with the What's the Scoop series, I almost thought of just stopping it because I didn't know if people were actually using it. And then, you know, I finally got a comment with someone saying they just appreciate the news, and pretty much it does exactly what I thought. The videos don't always have to have the best viewership, but I prefer it when, like, you know, people just watch it and get the information, because that's always the intention, you know. That's like the key thing with some of the videos I have, is that they're more for informational than they are for having to be watched 100% of the time. And I know down the line, for, you know, that type of series, that people will watch it at some point because it will fall in line with other stuff coming out. So like as we get closer to like BT17 for Digimon, I know that the What's the Scoop series might see a little bit more watching, because that's when we know the cards are coming. I do it like far ahead of time, knowing that maybe people will or won't watch it as much because they're just curious to see. But then once the time gets closer, these videos are here, so people don't really need to scramble to try to look it up. They could just watch the video and kind of understand what they need to see, and then they can also, you know, just pause the video if they really want to check out the effects of cards and, you know, work it that way. So that's kind of the thing I realized, is that you also have to be willing to understand that something won't do well sometimes at first, and it could do a lot better in the future. So you just kind of have to let it ride, right? Also, for like my content changing up, it's been really back and forth. I think it's because part of me wants to be like, oh, I want to like go ahead and do something that's not what I'm used to doing. And then other times I'm like, I really want to stick on like what I've been doing and go back and forth. Like I at first I thought doing a variety was like great, and I did do it. But the one thing I had an issue with variety is that it was harder to be, you know, fully passionate about something when you're not doing it as much. That's kind of why I had to like dip off of doing my, you know, my Yu-Gi-Oh videos. It wasn't really because I wasn't passionate about it, because I started playing more recently again. It was more so that I just didn't have the time for it. And then for the content I was making, it wasn't really fair to you guys who were watching it, or those who may have watched it, that I wasn't really putting 100% behind it because I just didn't have the time to put into it. So, you know, it felt to me like it was just too stale as it could have been. I wasn't able to pressure it and make it better. So I just decided to cut it off and turn it into things I was able to do that was more, you know, enjoyable. And it did go on Rumble. The only thing I've had is that I've been having struggling time to get my other Yu-Gi-Oh creation stuff done, just because I've been busy. So mostly it's been YouTube, and then when I get it done, I get it done. Also, putting some of the videos that were only on YouTube on Rumble has helped, because I do think that whether or not you're on Rumble, whether or not you're on YouTube, whether or not you frequent both or not, the key thing is I wanted to make sure that if I was starting this, because I did start on Rumble, I wanted to make sure that people understand that the channel's still alive and well on YouTube. And for Rumble people that do watch it, whether or not it's small or not, the key thing is if you do want to watch this content, it is on YouTube, but simultaneously it will be on Rumble as well, where maybe the space is lessened with this type of content. So I just wanted to make sure that I press out both. It helps get out to both communities, because I know Rumble's communities are a bit different than like obviously YouTube. But my key thing is to make sure people understand that if they want to be a part of the Addarmy on both sides, or either side, that they can totally make it there. They just have to realize that it's going to take time for like Rumble more than YouTube. But, you know, the stuff is there, is my point. Moving on, I guess I could talk about just kind of dealing with making a channel work. So one thing I'll say is the hardest thing I found from this year alone was just making sure you don't burn out on, like, you don't steam out, because when you start to lose your pushing, your driving force, you can feel it, and then it kind of permeates into your videos. Now, I luckily was able to take enough like breaks in between so that my videos, although like they weren't the best thing ever, they didn't completely just die out, because that was something I was worried about, is that they would start to suffer because I didn't care enough anymore. And luckily I was able to curtail that by bringing myself back. So, you know, I bring that up because a lot of times people will burn themselves out unknowingly because they just want to succeed. And success is a great thing, but if you're pressing yourself so hard to succeed that you stop, unfortunately, it will lead to your own destruction type thing. So with that in mind, right, I kind of just tried my best to keep myself going and make it work. But in the end, I realized that if you're going to try to burn out, definitely take the break. That's why I kind of stopped for this week after the 7 videos, because one, I had to get more of my life back on track because I have some stuff I need to do. And then also, I just wanted to make sure I did this first, because I do have videos waiting in the wing already, because I was already crafting content for after the year celebration, because I just wanted to hit it running. But I thought this was more appropriate to do this because I think this is the best cap off to the 1 year celebration. I wanted to make sure that I gave myself just enough time to say, hey, you did it for a year, you got it done. This is where we're at. What do you want to do? Where are we going forward with this? What's the move? What's the plan? And, take that break from making videos just for a little bit, just so you can grab your bearings and figure out where you want to go. So, those are always questions you should be asking yourself on your journeys, in anything, right? Like whether you're climbing a mountain, swimming the lakes, looking for like something rare or something like that. The point is, in order to get to the next step of whatever it is you're doing in life in general, take a moment to talk to yourself and feel out how you're feeling. I think that's so important, because I think a lot of people ignore themselves too much now, and they try to focus on like what people want. If you don't focus on making sure you get yourself down, and I don't mean the aspect of being like completely selfish. I mean just taking care of the basic needs of yourself. I think at least in the modern world, we over fixate on this idealistic form of being happy, where everything has to be in peace. People will say like the kumbaya thing, where it's like, oh, everything has to have complete perfect harmony with itself. And life just isn't like that. Chaos is a part of life. Chaotic things happen. You can't always prepare for everything, and having complete harmony with things doesn't mean that chaos doesn't happen at all. So I think I bring this up to tell people that when you're doing anything in life, the best thing you can do, if you're not sure, is take a break for a second. Because sometimes you're not allowed to take a break forever. Whether it's like you have to be at a job you don't like, or, whether you need to support people, because, there's probably some family or people with families here. They understand like they have to take care of, children, so forth and so on. So they have to kind of develop these additional skills to take care of, their priorities in their life. So the best thing to do is take a second to talk to yourself, see how you're feeling, what you're doing. And if you're okay with what's going on, you continue. If not, well, I wouldn't say, like most people say, just drop everything. Find your way out. Because the hardest thing in life is being at the bottom of a well and realizing you could have climbed out the whole time. It takes time to climb out. So, I bring that up because I think a lot of times where you're trying to grow as a person, or trying to grow just in life and figure things out, you lose sight of yourself, and you try to figure out what the world wants to see in you instead of what you need to see in the world. And I think that's, paramount to becoming a better person, and just, figuring stuff out in general. I think this whole year for me has been like a big learning curve, like for a lot of things. It's the year I think that my life has like drastically changed, and it wasn't, besides the case, guys, it wasn't beside by doing this. This is just kind of like a byproduct of something I always wanted to do. But this year in itself like had so much like rapid change for me that, you know, this was a part of it. And one of the things I'll say is, you know, thank you guys. This has been a really important thing in keeping me grounded. I, for a while there, had a lot going on and like family and stuff. I won't go through details, but sometimes it was really hard. You know, like family and friends, it was really hard. And I had this, and so yeah, I forget exactly which video it is, but if I go back far enough in my library, there are some videos where I was making them, and they just were helping me out and keeping me together. You know, like that's another thing too, is some of these videos I made them, and I was not like in the best of headspace when I made them in terms of like what was going on with me, but by doing it, I felt so much pressure relieved. Like I really felt like, you know, I just felt good. Like that's a key thing. I just felt good because I felt like I was able to kind of expand from like, you know, taking a breath and just being like, whew, you know, type thing. But, you know, it's not always, you know, the kind of the case. It just kind of things happen the way that they do. And, you know, you hope for the best and you just try to make things work, you know, you just try and get it done. Because ultimately, all you can realistically do is try things. And is the results go the way you want? Good. If they don't, well, it sucks and you just got to keep rolling. But I bring this up because, you know, in order to explain like how this year went for me and how the channel kind of like grew the way it was, I like look back at like what the videos are on my channel, like the oldest ones, and there are some like decent ones here. I think some of the ones that you know, obviously people probably haven't seen because they didn't look either too eye appealing or they didn't catch people's attention. I kind of get that now. I realize how important like a thumbnail game is, and it's huge, but ultimately too, content is king. So like if the video sucks and, you know, you put it out there and no one wants to watch it, it's just, you know, you hope, right? You hope that it catches the white smoke or the fire. You hope people want to see it and then they don't, and it's okay. So it's like, you know, that's a key thing too, is for a lot of content creators, I don't know them personally, but after, you know, maybe you hear what they say or what they do, you know, you kind of, I can feel for them is my best way to put it. I can feel for them. I can understand when like, you know, they're like, ah, well, it's not doing well and it hurts because I put so much work into it. It's like, yeah, I get that, but you know, you're not always able to get everything you want in life, and accepting that is kind of important too, because there is, I at least believe there's a limit to what every one person can do. And if you want everything, that's not a bad thing, but you know, it comes at a cost if you want everything. You know, you have to throw things away in order to grab everything that you want in life. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever watched those like old game shows where the people run through the supermarkets. I ended up seeing one once, and the funny thing was, I think the host mentioned something about like the person was like, I tried to grab all the expensive stuff, but you know, it was going to fill up the cart too soon. And he's like, well, you can only grab what you can carry. He says, in trying to grab everything, you know, you'll lose some, it'll spill over, or you know, you may have lost from like time or something. And you know, I was thinking about that, and it was just it was important to hear it, because a lot of times people will get overly greedy. And yeah, when you're overly greedy and you have like absolutely way too much stuff in that aspect, you'll eventually lose something. Like it'll spill over the side, and sometimes maybe the cart's filled with stuff that maybe you don't fully want. So ultimately what I'm trying to get at here is just, there are times in life that you want it all and you just don't get it. So if anything I could teach from that is, you don't get it, it's not the end of the world, you just have to keep going forward. And for this 1 year, that's kind of how I'm viewing it. Like, I'm just gonna keep pressing on. The key thing here is trying to just make sure I'm putting out content that isn't, I wouldn't say like subpar. Is just, I want to make sure I put out content that I enjoy making, and that it will be received okay. You know, I don't need the massive view count every time. It helps obviously because I know a lot of people are watching, but you know, just, you know, go out there and do the best that I can do, and you know, whatever comes out of it comes out of it. You know, I do need to kind of figure out, because I do want to have the other videos I've put out, but I don't want them coming out, you know, kind of constantly like before, because I don't want this issue of having the same issue as I had before with, you know, too many ideas on the channel. You know, I primarily want to have the 2 to 3 themes and then the occasional like additional video to go with them. So, you know, like the Digimon and Pokemon stuff obviously standing tall. Depending on if I'm able to go to locals more, the local hero stuff will appear on the channel every now and then, but I'm primarily going to move that over to Rumble because, you know, that's just kind of where I'm going to put the Yu-Gi-Oh content because I need to share. And then for the Godzilla, the God of War content, that stuff will make its debut on Rumble first because I do think that in order to show it more love, I like putting the videos there first. Even though, like, you know, not as many people will watch it as on YouTube just because of volume, they still get to be seen first there, and it gives them love because I like to make sure that the people who watch that on Rumble, you know, they get a chance. Like, my Rumble channel was a year old, probably, what, I think like 2 months ago, technically, because I made it a little bit before I actually made my YouTube, so it had a little bit more time on the over this, right? Like, it has more time over the channel. But ultimately, in the end, you know, I've put more of my eggs in my basket here. It's not just a Rumble is like a bad platform. I actually think Rumble is an excellent platform. It's super easy to get into as a creator. They make it easy for you to get on. I think it's just that it doesn't have as many people watching for certain things, so you really have to pick and choose what you want to like focus on there. And yeah, it's just that I think is the ultimate case. Like, a lot of people will be putting out certain videos on Rumble because it's usually used for other purposes. So stuff like this does, or stuff I make does and doesn't get views. Like, sometimes my views just are really decent on a video, and then sometimes they're just like really poor, and it's whatever, you know. I'm not gonna knock it. I'm just happy people watch it at all on Rumble, if I had to be completely honest. So, you know, I put it out there on this video to kind of let you guys know that this will be the primary focus going forward. Is the YouTube channel will be inundated with most of the common content I have. And, you know, the occasional Beyblade video here and there. After the success of, you know, the first one, I was actually kind of surprised. Because I know, like, it's been seeing a lot of resurgence on YouTube, which people are, like, looking at the Metal series. I think it's because Beyblade X is coming out. I think sometime in the near future. So people are being really hyped about Beyblade. I eventually want to go look at the other Beyblade series that came after Metal, like Burst, and I forgot what the other one's called, but they actually looked pretty cool. I think it's just, when we think about what peak Beyblade was, it's probably always going to be Metal. But the only reason Metal gets to be peak Beyblade is that it came after the first one, so it already had shoes to fill. But narratively, the story was really solid for the first season. Second season wasn't bad, but I think there was a few narrative choices I would have made to fix it, because I think the second season was good, but it should have been great, and it was almost close to being great. But some part of me feels like whoever wrote the second season of the Metal series wanted to do probably a lot more, but they were told they had to do a lot less, and they could just made the consolidations, and, you know, that kind of bothered that product. But, you know, I will make videos for it. I'm happy that the Chris video did so well. It was kind of surprising because I thought it would do okay. Because I was like, yeah, you know, people probably want to see it, but I'm kind of surprised it outperformed all the videos from the 7-day celebration so far, and it did it really quickly. It's like it took like 2 days, and then all of a sudden it just took off in viewership. So, you know, I'm not mad there. I was just like, oh, geez, I did not expect that. You know, like when you have a video that comes out and you're like, no one's really watching it. Then all of a sudden you wake up the next day and you're almost at like 1,000 views. That, to me, like when you're a smaller channel, is amazing, because you're just like, oh my God, I did not expect that to happen. You know, it's like, oh, you know, like, it's like, well, what do I say? It's like, I don't know. That was like when I had my Basket Legion video. And my Gaiomon videos I almost forgot about for the 1-year celebration. Like, when you see your top performing videos, you usually want to like try to catch the smoke in the bottle, so to speak, so you can keep it. and you just want to be like, okay, when I open the bottle, it'll explode out and it'll do just as well. And that doesn't always happen. You can't always outperform when you make like a masterpiece or like something really good that just happens to catch fire. You can't just expect it to do itself again. So I kind of just see it that way. Where like for my Gaomon videos, the one thing I'll say for the 1 year celebration was the first time I realized how interactive a community could be, because when I put those videos out, I did it more for fun, but also to actually explain the lore, because Digimon's lore is really weird. And I had some people giving me, not, I wouldn't say pushback, but their own interpretation of stuff. But then like I tried to figure out what they were talking about. Like some people said like, oh, this or that about the digital world, and they're not wrong. But then you realize, wow, there's like a bunch of digital world servers. So technically speaking, what this guy was saying was correct, but it wasn't correct for my theory of where I think, this Gaomon or where the original Gaomon may come from. And it's like, I'm like, okay, he's not wrong, but he's also not right. Like, I kind of hate arguments like that, where the person's like, oh, I have this information, and you're like, oh, that's true, but it's not true for what I was talking about. It only works in like a specific situation. And, for some of my other videos too, at least for the Pokemon ones, I'm glad for the most part they've gone over well. Sometimes I make a goof, or sometimes I try to find all the information I have ahead of time, and I just think they're either too confusing sometimes or there's not enough. So like for a lot of the Pokemon videos, I find it hard when, like, for the What's Up series, I try to make sure that the Pokemon has a lot of lore behind it. Some of them I decided I just want to get them out of the way because they don't, but they're interesting, and that's kind of like, I think, punished me in the back, because I'm like, every Pokemon is someone's favorite, but not everybody loves their Venipedes. Not everybody loves their they're not a big fan of maybe Shroomish. They're not a huge fan of the Houndours. Everyone loves Slowpoke because he's derpy, but it's one of those things where I'm like, for the series, I want to keep it going, and I'm gonna keep it going. It's just that, and then Chatot is like there, but everybody's kind of like, they don't like it. But I thought its lore was interesting, and I thought maybe you could kind of tie together a lot of the like in life explanations from the Pokemon world. But I think I'm dragging here at the 1 year or the end of this. So last thing I just want to say quick before I shut this down for you guys, is it's been a year. I'm glad I did it. I'm gonna keep it up, so maybe in the future, I don't know what'll happen. I don't know so far if I have a grand goal for the Addarmy, but I know for a fact that it will continue, at least for now. And I'm just, super glad that you guys were able to be a part of it so far. And I will, give it my best shot going forward. And I hope that if, you want to be a part of it and you're listening or watching and you see this, to go ahead and maybe decide that you want to be a part, go ahead and sub up. It does help out in getting us, more views, and I will push out what I can when I can so that people have stuff to watch and they kind of all just join in together. So, as always, this has been Brad from the Addarmy signing off. And for all of you out there, to sign on.